Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later in the show, we'll visit the Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota. But first, joining me now is author of Samson's Gift, Ellen Dieterich. Ellen, thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, as we get started, we always like to ask our guests to tell a little bit about yourself, your background, maybe where you're originally from.
Yeah, I was a Wayzata, Minnesota kid, and till I was 12, and then I moved to the farm in Staples, Minnesota, where my parents wanted us to learn how to work, and we really did learn how to work. It used to take us 3 girls to do the dishes and all that stuff, to an hour and a half, and then dishes were a good job to do after a while. But I got to know the farm animals and there, and then I was moved to Fargo when I got married.
Okay. Well, now, how did you become sort of a writer, and I guess primarily a painter, but how did you work that out?
It's too weird. I never thought I would be a children's book illustrator. People used to say, you should do this, and I'd say, no way, I'll never do that. And I was up in the airplane with Where's Petunia here, and I was drawing pictures out. That's what I do. I bring up a wad of photographs in my sketch pad, and I plan out paintings because that's the hard work, and then you're bored out of your mind, and I can't paint. I always want to paint, so that gives me the discipline to plan out all these paintings. So I was drawing these horses and sunflowers, and I drew these pigs, and then I drew an iris painting, and I thought, oh, I've done that before. And then I felt like not wasting this piece of paper, and I drew a pig on top of the iris, and I went, oh, that looks neat. What would you call this painting? And I said, looking for Petunia, like Petunia the pig. But then I said, no, but these are irises. And then I went, oh, wouldn't that be a cute story? Have you seen Petunia? No, these are irises. So I started drawing those paintings out. Well, they inspired me to do that. Then I did an art book. I always wanted to do an art book. And that was really fun because I had all the paintings and I just had to work on the words, which my mother was an English teacher, and so she used to work on my English. I still need lots of help with that yet. But anyhow, I know she passed away in 2006, and I finished the book then because I could feel her correcting my English, and I felt like I was with her. So that kind of really came together quickly. The Samson's Gift idea came later. I don't know if you're asking me about that now.
Well, that's where we are. You're so very right. Now, what we're here to talk about today is your newest book, so Samson's Gift. It's a gentle take on the familiar Christmas tale of the birth of Christ, I believe. So can you tell us some about that? So that's what you were just leading into.
Yeah, well, it was, I do a lot of dreaming, I guess. You know, I'm a person, when I paint, I'll put out all these paintings on the floor. I try to figure them out. And then I write down what needs to be done. And then I was staring at these 2 paintings that I did of Christmas pictures, and I was like wondering, like, why do people love these so much? And I'm staring at them. I thought I should do a Christmas book, and there was some sheep in it, and I said I should do a Christmas story with sheep. I like painting sheep, and I thought, what about that song, The Friendly Beasts, and how the sheep gave him his wool and stuff like that, and I fell asleep. Well, I woke up, I was on the farm, and we had this straw delivered, and my mother, you know, I was the lazy kid. I was always trying to get out of work. And my mom said, come and help unload the straw. And I said, oh, I got to change. I was wearing shorts. She said, no, you come and help right now. You know, it might have taken me 20 minutes to get my pants on if I get out of the job. But so I had to go up there, and we had these lighter hay bales. They were like 35 pounds. I was pretty strong. I could throw those things around like that. And I grabbed this first straw bale off, and I pulled it, and it was like a 50-pounder, and it crashed right into my shins and scratched them all up, and they stung for a week. So when I woke up, I thought, they can't put a baby in the straw. It would hurt. And I thought, oh, that's a neat idea, that the sheep gave the baby his wool because the straw would hurt him. So that was like from A to Z, I started working on the story. And I had a friend who was a professor of children's books, Lynette Wirt from Oklahoma, and I would meet with her on these meetings with my husband, and then I'd show her a little bit of the story, and then she'd give me an assignment to work on for the next time I saw her. So it took me 3 years to write the story.
Okay, well, there you go. So that's what 3 years to write the story, but you also did the illustrations as well.
Oh, the illustrations were tough, yeah. This was kind of a wild one because I had surgery on my neck. I had 5 vertebrae, and I was stuck on the story. I had taken it to a writer's conference, and the lady didn't like, she said, oh, your secondary character is way more interesting than your main character. I'd rewrite it. So finally I got off my high horse and I rewrote it, and I hated it, so it sat there. So then I looked at that when I was on this medication for my neck. I mean, I tell you, I never thought you could do anything good on drugs, but I woke up one day and I saw the beginning of my story. I saw the picture, and I saw it word for word, and I thought, well, you better go type that or you'll never remember it. So I typed that paragraph out, and then I went down and pasted it in. So then I started working on the paintings because I knew what the story was. But in the meantime, my doctor switched me. He told me I should work on an easel, so I had to learn a new medium, which is acrylic, because it's more comfortable. And I had all these paintings to do, and I thought I better do it in acrylic or I'll hurt. Mm-hmm. And so I was learning a new medium, so that took me another 3 years to get that.
Well, there you go. So another 3 years to do that. So
it was a 6-year project.
A 6-year project, not just 3 years. Well, let's back up just a minute then and talk more about your painting, because you've been a painter for how long?
Oh, well, I've been a professional painter since '85, so I'm celebrating 30 years this year. Yeah, and I just started, I was a teacher for 1 year at Pine River Elementary in Pine River, Minnesota. I came back to get married. There weren't any teaching jobs, so I just started painting. And yeah, I really love it.
Well, so then what turned you to writing the children's books? You've talked a little bit about it. But...
Like the Petunia book, I got that idea, and then I decided to play with it. And then I had the paintings, and then I went through my paintings, and I found some paintings I could do. And I had my girls. My girls are in that book, and my cats. And so I just had all those paintings were fun to do, and I worked on the story to get, it seemed like the story was the tough part for me.
Okay. Well, now, I think you said 6 years on Samson's Gift, but your previous book, Where's Petunia, you've told us a little bit about the drawing with the flower and the pig, but how long did it take you to do that book?
It took about 3 years. You know, my paintings take, 40 hours, maybe longer, and you're talking painting time or drawing, planning, whatever. So yeah, and then I have to do other paintings in between to keep my customers happy, So I have paintings at shows and different things, so.
When did you do Where's Petunia, and did it win some awards, I understand?
Yes, it won a Ben Franklin Best First Book Fiction gold medal. So that was in 2004.
Okay, so
yeah.
2004, so yeah. So a little bit of time in between your 2 books, but the second one's out. Do you think you'll do more books? Writing books?
Well, right now I feel like that's asking a woman who just had a baby to have another one. I don't have any ideas. I just want to paint. Right now I'm kind of behind on my painting, so I'm trying to catch up. And then I'll probably I think I'll get another idea. I actually have toyed with the idea of doing a mystery book and then just doing one painting for the cover. But it's kind of it's just a thought right now.
Do you illustrate for other authors out there?
I do not. It takes, my husband talked me out of it for a friend who wanted me to do it. It would, it's a lot of, it's like so much painting. You know, they usually pay like an illustrator $5,000 to do these paintings, and I've got $35,000 worth of work in there. So it'd be tough to come out on that.
Okay, you touched on this a little bit, but it might help us expand on you know, the difference in the animals, the growing up on the farm. I mean, did that just continue to influence you and sort of your attachment to the farm animals?
Well, yeah, I was really unpopular as a kid. I was in sports, and I couldn't stay in sports because I had to go milk cows. So I was in basketball. I was the kid that, you know, shot a basket for the other team the one time I got to play, you know. It's, you know, not a, and the animals were always nice to me, and they always accepted me, and I took good care of them, and I just appreciated that. Okay. So it took me a while to learn how to work with people.
Well, with that said, you know, when you started writing books, and maybe this wasn't a challenge, or maybe it was, what was it like trying to get the books published? And I mean, there's so many people out there writing children's books. Celebrities are writing children's books, and there's so much of it out there. Yeah,
you know, I knew that these books were going to be so much work to paint, and that you wouldn't really, like the Samson's book, it would have been horrible to get a contract and then have someone putting pressure on you to do that. So I just made the commitment up front to publish myself. I learned a lot on Where's Petunia about publishing. I took all kinds of studies of that information and learned the school of hard knocks, I guess you would. And then, you know, I did better on publishing progressive painting. I knew more things. I have hired a nice gal to help me promote Samson's Gift, and she's been in Pakistan. She'll be back here next week to start working on promoting again for me.
Okay. With that said, is there a balance to strike in writing a book that sort of appeals, because your books appeal to kids and to adults?
Yes, and I'm lucky. I don't know. I'm really happy to hear that the kids like them. It seems like the parents buy them just they like the pictures, and then they read them to their kids, and then they find out that the kids like them and everything too. So it's fun. It's well, that's the children need something. I think this is really positive, both of these messages in the books. So.
Do you go out and read to kids in settings?
Yeah, like I was out at some bookstores or stores selling my books, reading, and if they invite me to come do that, I would do that. We're working to get more of that. It was such a schedule, getting this done and getting it out, that this year I think we have more time to plan some of that, but we're open to requests to come out and talk to schools.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to those two books in just a moment, but I'm holding another book, and one I think that you said is maybe more of a passion for you, and that's obviously Progressive Painting, Your Creative Journey. Tell us more about that one.
Well, yeah, well, I always wanted to write an art book, but I used to ask people all these questions about painting and both business and about art, and some people would tell me things and I wouldn't believe them, and then I'd find out later they were telling me the truth. Other people would tell me things and then I believe, you know, it was just kind of all over the place. And I had asked a lot of people questions, and I started gathering the answers from going through these experiences. So really the main reason I wrote this book is like some of the problem aspects of keeping going on painting. So many artists have trouble with the discipline, naming their paintings, finding ideas. What do you do when you get stuck? Every painting has they're like a teenager, and all of a sudden you're working to build this to a certain place, and then to get there, you don't necessarily start obviously to get there, and then it looks like something different, and it's confusing, and it's a confusing phase, and then you have to figure that out. And I've made lots of mistakes, and I've had lots of demand to get these done, so I figure out ways to make them turn out, and I've learned how to fix things. So I'm sharing a lot of that.
Yeah, and I understand you teach painting workshops, because there are a lot of people out there that say, I just can't paint.
Or they just want to paint, yeah. I have a Paint Your Pet workshop coming up in April. I think it'll be a blast. I mean, because it's just fun to, you know, I've figured out some fun things they can do for drawing them out and doing stuff like that. So, but I like to help any level painter.
What advice do you have to a young writer, or for that matter, to anybody who maybe wants to finally write something down?
Write it down. Yeah, just write your stuff out. I mean, I had like my painting book, I had written all these weird paragraphs on paper, and I had a kid from college, and she had to figure out what from my handwriting and type these up, and then we started taking little kernels out of them. But just the fact that we had that information, because there was a reason I wrote that down. It was important to me, and so you could use that later. I guess I hear read a lot. You got to read more. I'm not as good a reader. In fact, I got a D in reading in grade school. So I just love. I love writing.
Well, with that said, we're going to put you on the spot. Can you pick out a passage maybe to read from Samson's Gift for us? We'd maybe we'll work on that D and see if we can make it a
golly,
better grade.
I might stumble. I love this book. In it, there's a shepherdess, there's an orphan lamb, and his name is Samson. And here he's being raised by Tadra. And every day, Tadra came to the barn and took care of me. I liked spending time with her. Then one day, she took me outside to meet a wise mother ewe named Nana and her twin lambs, Joseph and Jacob. Joseph had a dark face with a white spot on his forehead, and Jacob was spotted all over. Those two lambs walked right up to me, butted me in the head, so I butted them back. Then we all stood and stared at each other and bleated with laughter. Each morning, Tadra would call us to go to the pasture. Nana let us out with the other sheep. We would eat the grass and play some games with the other lambs. Our favorite game was to race up the hill, kick our legs high, and then turn around and butt each other off the top. Up and down we would go. Sometimes Jacob cheated by grabbing a big mouthful of wool so he could trip me. Then he'd pull me down and I'd tumble off my feet. As I grew better at the games, just as Tadra had predicted, I was becoming strong, and my wool began to grow thick and fine. And he's special because of his wool, and he gives his wool to the baby Jesus, but in the meantime, he doesn't want to get his wool sheared, so he's quite a character.
Well, with that said, I'm sorry we're running out of time, but if people want more information or to get copies of the book, where can they go? Who can they contact?
They can go to ellendiedrich.com or Divinity Press, or you just Google my name or Google Samson's Gift is a good way to find us. But there's lots there to see.
Well, Ellen, thanks so much for joining us today, and best of luck on your new book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned for more. Since 1954, giant iron machines have been roaring back to life each Labor Day weekend in Rolog, Minnesota. The Western Minnesota Steam Threshers Reunion attracts thousands of visitors each year with its 210 acres of exhibits and demonstrations. Almost nothing is static, as workers have meticulously restored and revived vintage equipment. Enjoy a glimpse of the sights and sounds in Rolog, Minnesota.
Okay, hello folks, and welcome to the 61st Western Minnesota Steam Threshers Reunion.
This is our 61st show. It was started by a couple families. They just got together on a weekend to thresh some grain with a steam engine, and 61 years later, here we are.
So when you first come into Rolog, you're going to be driving up and you're going to see kind of the cloud of smoke, and it's just kind of a good ambiance for what you're getting yourself into. You're going to smell the coal and sawmills going. You're going to hear the wood being cut.
Nobody has a show like Rolog. There's something here for everybody. If you're a railroad buff, there's trains. If you're a tractor buff, big farming background, there's a lot of different tractors that most people have never heard of.
I tell you, you can't describe it. You got to see it to believe it, because there is so much to do and so many things. It's never the same thing. There's always somebody comes up with something new.
I'll say it's the best bargain in America coming to this show. Just all kinds of action. Well, we got a couple steam shovels running down there right now, and they're just mainly putting on a demonstration of how they did it years ago when they really did do work with them. All we're doing is playing here, like big kids at a big sandbox, you know, but that's what we're trying to do. Lots of little kids really like it. You never see nothing like this. This is the only place in the world you can see 4 steam shovels working at the same time.
Running the engine. There's something that's so simple as you take wood and you build a fire and you boil water to make steam and you get the power out of it. It takes a lot of maintenance, a lot of oiling. We're going to be belting up at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're on the engine at probably 6:30. We're constantly watching our water and then keeping a fire, keeping pressure up so we keep the power for the threshing machine. I think the importance is people seeing how we got to where we are today. This is what started it. This is how you originally got the wheat to make the bread. That's what I think is what's important. It's keeping the history alive.
If you follow in his line, he will always guide you right. Can't you hear the blessed Savior calling you?
I'm 4th generation, so my great-grandpa was out here, I believe, at the first show. Then my grandpa and my dad, and now me. You know, when I was younger, it was just a time for me and my dad to spend time together, and that was always great, and that really hooked me from the start. You know, you get up in the morning and smell of smoke, you know, coming out of the engines, that gets to me, and you know, you just learn how much harder things were when they had to do it this way. We do it for fun, but to think having to do this, you know, from sunrise to sunset every day, that would take a toll on you. I know I expect to be coming out here my whole life. If that means I'm rolling around in an electric wheelchair, I guess that's what I'll do. But the sights, the smells, you can't beat it.
Well, it's always an exciting time for a kid to ride a train. The train here at Rolog is to provide an experience for people to ride on the train free, without charge, as many times as they want. A lot of people have never ridden on a train before, especially the little kids. They really love the train.
The engine, the family atmosphere, it's really a group puts this together, and it takes an army to keep it going.
There's a good community of people out here, and that's the heart of things. The machinery and the equipment is fantastic, fun, good to work with, but the community of people is what makes it.
I think watching people in their enjoyment and watching it being run, and then teaching those who want to be up on the engines, or you know, just learning about stuff, it really kind of fuels the fire to keep it going.
I help out at the print shop, Pioneer Press, for the last 15 years. We gather the news and then put it together and then print the newspaper for the weekend. And we try to get younger people to come in and work with us to keep the tradition going. Well, it's preserving history, and that's what you have to do.
I'm a huge history geek. I love learning about the history of America and how we got to where we are today, and farming is a huge part of that. This is one of the largest steam shows in the entire country. People come from all over the world just to see it.
It is a reunion. Most of us can say, we've got friends that we only see 3 or 4 days a year, and that's it.
It's definitely a labor of love, and it's a piece of history. I mean, the equipment that you see around here is what helped construct a lot of our infrastructure.
It's a great place. It's a great group of over 5,000 members, and it just shows what hard work and dedication can do.
That's what makes it special right there. You see it, you can hear it. When the steam engines are running, you can feel it in your chest. So it's a real multi-sensory thing, and you don't get that anywhere else. I've been to museums where they've had a static display of a steam engine. It's lifeless. And Rolog's full of life.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Funding for Minnesota Legacy programs are provided by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.